What's good, gang? I'm gonna give everybody a second. Sorry. Where is it? Give me 1 second. Oh, it is there. All right. Okay, gang. I wanted to come talk to you really quickly. Gonna give everybody a second to come on in. It's hot. So, I got a good download today. Today, I am running around doing the prep for the Lion's Gate. As you can see, I started the jars, okay? So, I got up early this morning because I have some errands to run in preparation for the Lion's Gate. And I was in the shower like I usually am when I get these downloads. And I got this download about what's coming, okay? About what's coming. And I felt like, you know what, I might not have a chance to come on later. And I wanted to get the download out before I lost it. So that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, the download that I had while I was in the shower. So I'm in the shower and I hear bloodlines, sins of the father, right? And Spirit starts showing me images. Now, I am not a scientist, okay? So I may not know the proper terms. I can only show you what Spirit showed me, okay? So basically what Spirit showed me was that the part of it that I am familiar with scientifically is mitochondrial DNA, right? So this is the maternal line. So in other words, the mother passes on her DNA to both her son and her daughter, but only the daughter can pass down the, I believe it's the Y chromosome, right? And the father passes down his genes to both the son and the daughter, but only the son can pass down the particular gene, okay? So what Spirit was basically saying was that certain bloodlines were being wiped out, okay? And that you would be able to tell these because, and you could tell whether it was the toxicity of the male or of the male line or the toxicity of the female line by the children. Okay, so in other words, let's say, for instance, right, a man has 5 children with a wife. Let's say this is 3 generations back, right? And he has 5 children. He has 3 boys and 2 girls, right? So they all have the DNA of both the mother and the father, but the boys will only pass on the father's specific DNA, and that keeps the bloodline going. And the girls will pass on the mitochondrial DNA. Like I said, I don't know the name for the man's DNA. Either way, when a bloodline has not broken particular generational curses, when they have been given opportunity on opportunity to change something, let's say that same man came from a generation of women. I got distracted by somebody walking by. Comes from a line of men that have been beating their spouses or molesting children or whatever, what's going to happen is that those sons that he has will only have daughters. Okay, because they're getting to the point where they don't want to continue certain lines. They feel like they've given them opportunities, right? So in a man's case, let's say he has 9 kids and he refuses to take care of those kids, and then those kids turn out to be toxic, right? Spirit is going to shut down the lines after a certain amount of generations. Spirit didn't say how many generations, okay? So basically, it's like time to pay the piper, okay? And this is going across color lines as well. So in other words, this Aquarian age, what they're trying to do, what's good, abortionists would be barren. Listen, Morning Star, this isn't about political views, okay? In the same breath, people could say that people who want to control other people's decisions are coming from a hateful space and not coming from love, and maybe that line has been abusing power, and they're going to be shut down. So I wouldn't be so quick to, label people as to what the divine feels toxic, because I feel like in this timeline we have been programmed to think that we know what the divine wants, okay? And the divine wants us to speak in love, just like many people will say that being gay is a sin, right? But if we're all made in the likeness of God, and God is both masculine and feminine, the divine, because it creates both, then those beings are divine too. And in our humanness, when we go out of our way to ostracize or target a certain segment, we're not living in the vibration of love, okay? So and this isn't, I named it Sins of the Father, but it's not just sins of the father, right? This applies to women as well, okay? So I feel like you're going to start to see shifts, okay? You're going to start to see shifts. And with the Divine Mother coming back, this is a lot about people aren't going to notice, okay? Because, there'll still be births, but they're not going to notice. But if you look at particular families, you're going to see there's a lot of boys, right? But there's not a lot of girls, or there's a lot of girls, but there's not a lot of boys. Listen, Morning Star, we're not here to have, a debate about Moses or abortion rights. I'm for abortion. So if you have a problem with that, you're probably watching the wrong channel. Let's start with that, okay? I believe that people should have a choice in what they want to do with their own bodies, okay? So, let's start there. And this is about bloodlines, okay? And about people who have, made some negative choices generation on generation, And if you want to talk about, abortion, let's talk about racism. What's good, Crystal? Let's talk about racism. Let's talk about people who, exactly. Let's talk about people who own slaves. Should they not be wiped out by your own premise? Okay? So let's be careful, when we point fingers, because when you point a finger, 3 will point back at you. You know what I'm saying? So, unless your line is completely clean, okay, that might be something to consider. Okay? So what Spirit is saying is that the time has come for us to take this growth seriously. right? And you know, try to make listen, Morning Star, I'm gonna block you because I feel like what you came in here was not to talk about the subject, not to talk about the subject, but to cause an issue. Okay. And we're here to like discuss real things, okay? And the hatred that people have, you know, towards other people could be the very reason. I mean, that's a prime example, right? You know, people were beaten into religion, right? And people are having awakenings now about what doesn't align with them, okay? And some of these same things that spirit wants to wipe out have happened in the church, okay? So if you're still watching Morning Star, keep that in mind. If that was the case, you know, there'd be no priests, okay? All right? Let's keep it a buck. All right? It's too early for the bullshit. All right? So basically what spirit was saying is that some of these bloodlines, they've been causing havoc in the collective, okay? And you know, they're on all color spectrums. They're on all color spectrums. This isn't you know, a racial divide, okay? I feel like there's gonna be, what you'll see, and I actually know a family that went through this, right? It was like in the 90s, and they lost all the fucking males, right? Now the males, they had some young male children, right? But those males grew up to only have girls, okay? So you understand what I'm saying? Like, what happens is that it's like the line is starting to clean itself, okay? Just like Gaia is going through this purification, so are bloodlines. And that's what spirit wants us to know. This thing of tolerating the succubuses and the incubuses who come here just to cause destruction. That's being done away with, okay? So as above, so below, we're supposed to have this balance, right? But I feel like spirit is saying, you know, we're moving into a period where this overwhelming stifling of negativity has to go, just like we had this morning in this live, right? There's not any more room for that, okay? I suggest, you know, for the males and the females, right? If there's a particular pattern that you see in your family that you know has been an ongoing toxic situation, this is something to be mindful and ask the spirit guides to assist you in breaking that and helping you break that, okay? Not only so that they can assist you, but that you can let them know that you want to be the change maker, okay? Yes, they can be, right? Of course they can be, right? So, you know, in a more personal way, not your family, but any individual, yes, right? So, in a more personal way, you may see, like, because, you know, in this society, we have a lot of blended families, right? So half sisters, half brothers, right? You're going to start to notice the divide, okay? So let's say a man has a child with two women, right? Two women. And one woman, he has a daughter and a son with. And then the other woman he has a son with, right? What will happen is, like, maybe that son only has daughters, or he has no children, or he's sterile or something. And then the other one that had the girl and the boy, right? He has a son, and that one has no children, but the girl is giving, is having daughters, right? That means that that mother's line was found to be not without blemish, but still a viable bloodline. And then the other side gets shut down. Okay, that's a lot of cases going to be of two people, two bloodlines that have crossed, that have been perpetually toxic. Okay, so spirit's saying there's like a massive cleanup going on, and it sounds a little scary to me, okay? Because I feel like not everybody will it be correct, Vita love, right? So not only will it be like that they just won't procreate that sex anymore, but in some cases you'll notice in a short period of time, like all the males die or all the females die because they're shutting the bloodline down. Okay, because they feel like there's something toxic that they keep spreading like a virus. Okay, so this is what spirit is saying. Okay, you're gonna start to notice this. Okay, and you may notice, like, okay, so let's do it in a woman's way. Let's say there's Big Mama, right? And Big Mama has 4 girls, right? 4 girls, and one girl, she doesn't have children for whatever reason. Okay, and then the other one, she has sons, and then 2 daughters have girls, right? It's already starting to close, right? The next generation, those 2 girls, they only have sons. They're telling you, you know what, there's something going on in the bloodline. Now let's say one of the daughters has a girl. They may say, you know what, out of all the 4 daughters, and there were several girls that came out, she's the only one that is like pure of heart. So she has a bunch of girls, right? And she has both, like, sons and daughters. Her line stays plentiful, and the other sisters are barren. They only have sons, or whatever, because they're not going to let that continue, because either they're going to purify the line or they're going to shut it down. Okay, so this is what the download that came to me this morning, that it's time for us to really look at the patterns that have been in our family. Okay, and who are the change makers, right? What are the births coming in looking at? What are, let's say if you come from a large family and there's a lot of girls, are the girls having girls? Are the boys having boys? Because this tells you, okay, because they're trying to purify the line. Okay, they're trying to strengthen. Okay, we're getting all this DNA and activations, right? And I feel like in this new Aquarian timeline, not all bloodlines are gonna cross. Not all bloodlines are gonna cross. Okay, so this also has to do with soul contracts and partners that we pick. This is why you shouldn't pick your mate solely by looks, right? And or solely by what you see within a few months, because you need to understand what's coming in that bloodline. How do they have children? What do they do with those children? What do their relationships look like? Because you're tying your bloodline to that bloodline. You feel me? So this thing about casual relationships, I feel like that's part of it. Spirits like, pay attention. It's not just about the soul contract when you lay with somebody and now you have shared this energetic exchange. But if you have a child with them, you've tied yourself to the bloodline. You see, so there's things that we need to shift the way we're thinking. We need to shift the way we're thinking. If you were, having children if you were more mindful as to the purpose, okay, as to looking for a mate, what you were looking for in a mate, right? And you, if you understood that that was going to determine the quality and the longevity of your bloodline, you know, you might look at those mates very fucking differently. Very differently than you would, you know, like, oh, he makes such and such amount of money, or he has a nice car. Yeah, but if, you know, he's got a bunch of toxic shit in his family, you know, are you doing yourself a service by tying yourself to that type of bloodline? Okay, so I feel like what spirit is saying is that there's gonna be a return to mindfulness about procreation, or that's where we need to be, okay? Because not everybody is a viable mate, okay? If you're having children with somebody that you know, okay, maybe you didn't know the first time, but you know that they're you know, an energy vampire, right? You know, you better do research, okay? Because maybe that person's just damaged by the way they were brought up. But if this is a whole problem in the line and all you see is toxicity in the family, the odds are that your child, male or female, is going to carry some extent of that. Because remember, I was saying that it's passed down to both male and female, right? But the man can only pass it through his he passes it to his daughter and his son, but only the son can continue it, right? And the same thing goes for the mother, that the mother can only she can pass it to both her son and her daughter, but only the daughter continues the mitochondrial DNA, right? So we need to be more mindful, because it's going to change the way families look. We have to start thinking about what we're bringing our children in, okay? So I feel like one of the main things that we need to do is we need to identify patterns, okay? So like in my family, okay, I'll use myself. What's good, Nikki Nick? I'll use myself as an example, right? My mother, I am my mother and my grandmother, and that's as far as I know, okay? We're all widows, okay? If you really like find out about your family, you will understand that there are patterns, okay? This could be wealth patterns, this could be illnesses, this could be anything, right? So it's just like a genetic thing. Like let's say, you know, somebody has you know, a particular disease and it keeps showing up in the family. You know, oftentimes people discuss that, like, should we have children? That's a disease that could be passed down, right? It's the same thing when you're out here mating in these streets, okay? Because it's not just what you're getting in genetics, it's also what you're getting spiritually, okay? And spirit is basically saying that in this Aquarian new age of Aquarius, there's certain things that they're wiping out, okay? And I feel like one of the things that they are after is like sex trafficking and you know, child molestation and that kind of thing, okay? You know, things that are like violence against humanity type things, okay? And I feel like wow, an eagle and a crow flying together, very interesting, right? And maybe that was a sign in itself. An eagle and a crow, they're very separate, okay? Very different. And yet, you know, they're flying side by side like they're partners, right? So, you know, you may have to step outside of your comfort zone and look for somebody that has particular traits. You know, when we are I feel like what spirit is saying, it's time to shift the way we look for partners or what we tie ourselves to, right? because it's the sins of the father. So that part the Bible had right? That and it says in the Bible, like, the sins of the father are passed down to the child, and what Spirit is saying is it's passed down through the DNA, through the DNA. Okay? So, another thing about the eagle is that, it's usually a loner, right? So you have to be more discerning. The eagle has a long vision, right? And flies high above the rest, right? And then comes in for its prey, right? So we need to be more discerning. Do you hear all the birds? We need to be more discerning about what we tie our bloodlines to. Okay, so like I was saying, in my family, there's a line of widows, right? And they were all, I don't know. Well, yes, I do know. My grandfather, he died of cancer as an old man. Okay, he had sons and daughters, right? And when I look at that, only the sons didn't have any children. One of the brothers, they had a girl, so there was no more girls. I should say there was no more sons. He had two sons, and those sons didn't procreate sons. Okay, you feel me? All right. So this is what Spirit is saying, right? Now, from my grandmother's line, there's me and my sister. We have both had boys and girls. Okay, so now it's to determine what the next line is doing. But there is some type of cleansing of the line that is happening, and it may not be outwardly visible, because it takes more than one generation. Do you hear the birds? Right? So it takes more than one generation. You might have, a family that encounters, they're coming in groups now. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 crows. 9 crows. 10 crows. They're everywhere. Okay? So, Spirit is definitely giving a message. Okay? Definitely giving a message about, the mothers returning, about the divine mother, and about how we need to be more mindful when we pick our partners, and that certain types of toxicity is being removed for this new timeline. Okay, so you might see tragedies happening in families, but there's kids or whatever, and then you might, not pay mind, and then 10 years, 15 years later, you're like, wow, they only had girls, or they only had boys. So sad, because so and so who died 20 years ago had a son, but his son didn't have any boys, so that line closed down. Do you see what I'm saying? And if you think I'm lying, right? Pay attention to the families that you are connected to, whether they be families that you're, by blood, or that you've been raised around. You will see what I'm talking about if you pay attention. Spirit said it already started, okay? And that it has started around 2000. So we're already in this transition. Okay, so that was pretty much the message I wanted to give you guys. Okay, Spirit is telling us, to start thinking about the curses that have plagued our lines, and what we can do to break them, or what conversations we need to have with Spirit, because certain families, they're getting closed down. Okay, because they have not, they refuse to take on an assignment, or they refuse to break a generational curse, or they continue to propagate toxicity. Okay, So that's pretty much what I wanted to tell you guys. Okay, I may be on later, but today's the day that I'm dedicating to prepping for the Lions Gate. For those of you that still want to get in, you have till 4 o'clock today. I have a lot of work to do today, so 4 o'clock today is the cutoff. Okay, I just wanted to come on it quickly and give you guys the download that I had got. Okay, and pay attention through the families that you know. And I feel like, if you know enough about the family and you know some of the challenges, you're going to see what I'm saying. All right. So that's what I have for you guys. I just want to say thank you to my returning subscribers for coming through and spending a little time with me. All right. And if you're a new viewer and you felt that I resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and comment, as I love to have you as part of the Lovely Soul family. I will try to come back on this evening. If not, I will see you guys in the morning. Talk to you guys soon.